Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework that's built for the crazy digital world we live in, the Digital Value Management System, or DVMS. You know, it's a new way of thinking that's designed to find those hidden risks and opportunities that live in the gaps between our teams and all our tech. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the digital maze that so many companies are kind of lost in right now. Then, we'll introduce the DVMS as our guide. We'll pop the hood and look at its 4 core models, see how they all click together, and finally, really get into why this is such a game changer for any organization today. Okay, so let's set the stage. We're all working in this completely new environment, right? I mean, for most companies, that old idea of infrastructure has just kind of dissolved into a bunch of services, and those nice, clean security boundaries we used to have, they've gotten super blurry. And this slide, this right here, gets to the absolute heart of the problem. We spend so much time looking for risks inside our applications or our servers, but the real danger, and frankly, the biggest opportunities, are at the boundaries. They pop up where different systems, different teams, and different processes all collide. It's the connections you see, not the individual components, that really determine whether you win or lose. And that right there is the million-dollar question that leaders are just wrestling with. I mean, how do you possibly manage and secure an ecosystem that's constantly in flux, deeply interconnected, and just full of these hidden dependencies? How do you govern the gaps between all the silos? Well, this challenge is precisely where the Digital Value Management System steps in. It was literally created to take on this exact problem of governing those gaps. So what is it? Think of DVMS like a smart governance overlay. Yeah, it's like this adaptive layer that sits on top of everything you're already doing, and its job is to translate that high-level strategy from the boardroom into real, coherent action on the ground. It's about making sure everyone is actually pulling in the same direction. So how does it actually do that? Well, the power of the DVMS really comes from 4 core models. Now, they might seem pretty simple on their own, but when you put them together, they create this incredible integrated engine for managing digital value. And here they are. First, we have Create, Protect, and Deliver, which we'll call CPD. Then there's Minimum Viable Capabilities, or MVC. Third is 3D Knowledge, or 3DK. And finally, Question Outcome/Question Metric. That's QO/QM. Let's do a quick and dirty breakdown of what each one brings to the table. First up, CPD. This model is all about forging that critical link between your big picture strategy and what people are actually doing day to day. It basically forces the business to stop thinking about creating value, protecting value, and delivering value as 3 separate jobs. With CPG, it all becomes one single integrated mission. Next is MVC. This one identifies the absolute must-haves. These are the 7 core capabilities, things like how you plan, design, change, and execute, that an organization simply has to nail to function effectively. It ensures you can actually deliver on the strategic promise of CPD, especially at those critical handoff points between teams and systems. Okay, now we got to a really crucial piece of the puzzle, 3DK, or 3D Knowledge. This model is all about the human element. It's about getting teams to think beyond their own to-do lists. So instead of the security team just saying no, and the dev team just wanting to ship code faster, 3DK builds a shared understanding of the entire system. It's what stops that vital expertise from getting trapped inside of silos. Exactly. 3DK is basically the collaborative tissue that connects all the other models. It transforms all these little pockets of individual expertise into a genuine adaptive learning engine for the whole organization. It makes sure everyone is looking at the same big picture. And finally, QO/QM. This is the model that makes your governance real and actually testable. So instead of just stating a vague goal like, we will be secure, you reframe it as a question. Can we prove that we are secure? And then you define the observable metrics that give you hard, decision-relevant evidence to answer that question. It's all about proof, not just promises. So when you put these 4 models together, CPD, MBC, 3DK, and QO/QM, they combine to create what's called the GRA engine. This is the operational heart of the whole system, and GRA stands for Governance, Resilience, Assurance, and Accountability. So the bottom line is that this engine does 3 critical things. 1, it acts as that governance overlay we talked about, swapping fragmentation for unity. 2, it's a behavioral engine, pushing for high-trust, fast decisions instead of that toxic blame game. And 3, it's a learning system, which makes your organizational culture something you can actually measure and improve.
Okay, that's all great in theory, but what does this actually mean for a business on a Monday morning? What are the real-world tangible benefits of putting a system like this in place?
Well, at the organizational level, it all starts with stability, especially when things get chaotic. And that stability lets you reliably deliver value, which in turn builds trust with your customers. That trust makes it easier to satisfy regulators, and ultimately, it lets you flip the script and turn resilience from a cost into a true competitive advantage.
And for the leadership team, the benefits are just as clear. The CEO gets a direct line of sight from their strategic goals all the way down to what's happening in digital operations. The board of directors gets ongoing evidence-based assurance, not just wishful thinking, that the company's assets are protected. And for the C-suite, it finally gives them a unified language to get everyone out of their silos and working together. I mean, the transformation is really profound. It's a deliberate shift away from a world of fragmentation, blame-based cultures, and vague reassurance, and into a system that's built on a unified strategy, high-trust decision-making, and real evidence-based resilience. It's night and day. This quote just nails the core idea of what some people call the assurance mandate. It's that difference between reassurance and actual proof. See, checking a compliance box gives you reassurance, but what leaders really need is proof, cold, hard evidence that the organization can actually deliver on its promises when it's under stress. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is your governance system built just to pass an audit, or is it truly designed to create, protect, and deliver value, especially when the pressure is really on?